So what we're going to start with is we're finding the zeros of a quadratic function by graphing. Now you only want to use this certain times, and that's when we have a quadratic. It's got to be quadratic, so that means something to the second power that we can't factor. Okay, we can't do two numbers that multiply to C and add to B. This would work then, okay? So there's 4 steps involved. The first step is you want to make sure that the equation is set equal to 0. If it's set equal to 4, move the 4 over. Set equal to -5, again, move it over so it's set equal to 0. Then again, you're going to use your calculator. You're going to plug in, you're going to put the equation in for y equals. And since y equals is a button on the calculator, I'm going to put a little box around it, ever so carefully. Okay, my next step, 3, we're going to find zeros. And there is a button on the calculator that will let you do that. You hit second, which is a button on the calculator. Calc. And I'll show you exactly where these buttons are when I go through an example. And then number 2. So second calc 2 is where the zeros are. And then there's steps inside the calculator. You have to set certain things so it knows what you're finding. You have to set what's called the left bound. Oops, I forgot the T. I'm not good at writing on this. Setting left bound, right bound. And then what you do is you take a guess. And again, the calculator will do this for you. It's not that bad. You just hit enter a couple times. And remember, our answer is a number, comma 0. That's what we're trying to find out. Okay, so let's actually go through a problem here. So here's our first one. If x squared minus 4x plus 7 equals 9, what is the value of x? Well, first step, it's not set equal to 0, so we need to move this 9 over. So we're going to minus 9 from both sides. So x squared minus 4x, whoa, I don't know where that came from. Minus 4x, and then it would be minus 2 equals 0. That's what we're going to type into y equals. So that's our first step. Now our second step is all in the calculator, so you got to watch me do the calculator carefully. Get a calculator in hand. Go to y equals. So it's right here. And I'm just going to type in my equation. It was x squared minus 4x minus 2. So that's my equation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit graph. Wait for it. There it is. Again, we're graphing a quadratic, so we should have a U shape. Now, if you don't see exactly what I see, hit zoom, which is right here, 6. And that'll just kind of set it standard, which is a -10 to 10. So again, hit zoom 6 if you didn't see what I see. If you did, you're good. All right, so here's our graph. Now we're going to keep going with our steps. Our next step is to find the zeros. So you can look at this and say that there's 2 zeros, one here and one here. We're only going to focus on the ones that we can see on this screen. I made it so that you can see them all on this screen. I don't know what this is. I could guess about where that decimal is, and I could guess about where that decimal is, but I want to know for certain. So I have to hit second, right here, calc, which is right here. And you'll get this screen, and here's 0. So you hit number 2. So here's your little cursor. It's blinking. And what you want to do is you want to go left bound. Now here's our first 0, and I like to just do the leftmost 0 and then the rightmost. So we need to be the left of that point. So I use my cursor. Now remember, your cursors are left to right and not up to down like you would think. So I hit the left button to move my cursor to the left. So see how it's moving? Now I'm on the other side of my point. So I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to go down, or not down, I'm going to hit the over button to the right and move my cursor to the right until I'm on the right side of my point. Again, there's no right or wrong answer where you hit enter. It just has to be somewhere to the right of this cursor that we made. So I hit enter again. And then what they say is you just need to guess. And to be honest, you can just hit enter one more time, and you should have something that looks like this. This is your first answer. Negative 0.45, comma 0. I can round that up to 5. So that's what we're going to write. So our first answer is negative 0.45, comma 0. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. Because again, I can see that there's 2 zeros. So I just start my steps over again from step 3. Second, calc 0, which is number 2. Now my left bound, I want to go over here, so I'm just going to scroll a little bit more to the left. And I'm going to hit enter. Now I want to scroll all the way somewhere over here. So I'm going to use my cursor. I'm going to scroll, and I'm going to hit enter, and then a guess, you just hit enter again. And there you go, here's your 0. Again, let's round to 2 decimal places, 4.45. All right, let's try the next one. 4x squared plus 8x minus 2 equals negative 5. Again, first step, we need to set it equal to 0, so plus 5. So there'll be 4x squared plus 8x plus 3 equals 0. So let's graph it. Clear the one that's already in there. So 4x squared plus 8x plus 3. Then we hit graph. Alright, so just looking at it, I can see that there already has 2 zeros. So now I need to figure out what those are. So second, calc 2. And now, again, I always find this point first. So I'm going to scroll over. And I'm going to go to the left side of this graph. So see how I'm on the left side of this point? So I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to scroll until I'm on the right side. Bam, right there. And then enter, enter. So here I am, negative 1.5, comma 0. That's my first answer. And now I know I'm going to have a second one because I can see it. I just don't know exactly where it is, so I need to figure it out. So again, second, calc 2. Am I on the left side of this point? Yes. I'm going to go a little bit more over. Enter. And now I need to go on the right, so I'm going to go this way a little. Then again, I just hit enter, enter. Now I could hit enter here, I could hit enter here. All of these would be fine answers. So negative 0.5, comma 0. And that's what you do when you have a quadratic. So remember, for quadratics, you can have 2 answers, 1 answer, or no answers. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it for polynomials, meaning a degree of 3 or higher is what we're working on. So you use the graphing calculator. To graph when degree is higher. Oh, I'm sorry, let's back up. Is 3 or higher. The reason these are going to look different is because the graphs are going to look different. That's why I have different parts. Okay, so to be honest, you could factor when your degree is 3 or higher. You could take out an x if they all have x's, but this also works. So I just wanted to show you another step. So the steps are actually the same. You set equal to 0. You plug into y equals. You find your zeros. And again, those are the same buttons. Second, Calc 2. And step 4, you set your left bound. Your right bound. And then your guess. And they will all have the format of a number, comma, 0. So those are your steps for this. Now these graphs are going to look a little more different. You're not as familiar with these types of graphs, so that's why we're practicing. So here's our first example. 8x to the third plus 3x squared plus 12 equals 2. What is the value of x? So again, I can't factor this. It has a degree greater than 3, but it's not set equal to 0, so I need a minus 2 from both sides first. So I have 8x to the third plus 3x squared plus 10 equaling 0. Now, it equals 0, so that means I can set it equal for y. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to set it in. So 8x caret 3, bring your cursor down, plus 3x squared, plus 10. Then I'm going to hit graph. Okay, so again, this is all that we can see, which is fine because that's all there is. This is how many times it crosses the x-axis. Crosses it one time. Now, do I know what that answer is? No, so I need to solve for it. If you look at it, look how it's kind of increasing. I know the graphics on here aren't the best, but it's actually increasing this way. It's going up. So, second, Calc 2. And I need to move my cursor. My cursor's all the way over here, and I need to be here. So I need to move it this way, so I am on the left. Enter. Now I need to move it just above. I need to move it over here. Right there. Then enter, enter. So here's my answer. Negative 1.22, comma 0. That's my answer. And now I'm done that problem because it only crossed the x-axis once, so I don't need to do any more. So one more example, and then you're going to try some of these by yourself. Plus 12 plus 12. So 4x to the third minus 5x plus 112 equals 0. So that's what I'm going to set. Make this a little more. There you go. Now I'm going to set this into the calculator. So negative 4x caret 3 minus 5x plus 112. Whoops, I messed up. I gotta fix that. So negative 4 is x to the third cursor minus 5x plus 112. And hit graph. Alright, now here's my graph. This is the only part I can see. Again, I'm not worried about the rest because this is the only time it's going to cross the x-axis. And if you look at it, ever so slightly, it's moving downward. Okay, see how it's just kind of slightly moving over? Now again, that looks like 3, but I don't know for sure, so I got to check. So second, Calc 2, left bound. I can't even see my cursor. See where I am right now? I'm at 0, 1, 12. I'm like all the way up. So I'm going to move it a little bit down. So now I'm at 100, 98, 95. Let's get into a little bit numbers that we know. How about 2? Perfect. Enter. Now I need to go this way. So it already made one I don't know, but it's fine. I could just hit enter, enter, because I know it's there. And here's my answer. Let's just round it to 2.9, comma 0. So 2.9, comma 0. And that's how you find your zeros using a calculator. Now there are, I think, 10 more problems for you to do. Now some of them are going to have one answer, some of them are going to have two. I think the most has 5. So again, notice it. Some of them you can see right off the bat because they're whole numbers. If you don't want to use the calculator buttons, you can't, or you can just count, but make sure, I don't want you to get it wrong because you just estimated. So try those.